1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get punked, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in they Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move, whatever click you choose. Let me start this video with an old saying which goes, steel sharpens steel. As a black man and as black people, we all grew up in different cities, different environments, different households with different influences that kind of determine the way we view and the way we see life. On my YouTube channel, I got over 900 videos, somewhere around there. Not one of the videos that I made have I ever intentionally made a video to tear down, disparage, or disrespect a black man. Even when I'm talking about, when I'm relaying old stories, right, where individuals may have done things in the gang culture that was frowned upon. Even at those times in my stories, I'm going to change the individual's name. Case in point, man, in the gang culture, I was deeply betrayed by another individual who was a Crip, who I shared some my information about my case and details about my case with, looking up to this dude because he was an older individual who had experience going to prison. And due to the severe nature of the charges that I was facing and the time that I was facing, I divulged some information to him in relating to my case. The dude was about 35 at the time. Due to the fact that he didn't want to go back to prison, he then in turn wrote a letter to the district attorney saying he had information about my case and so on and so forth. And long story short, he came and testified against me in an attempt to get time reduced from his sentence. Even when I do stories that involve him, I don't disparage the brother. I don't call him out of his name. I don't call him by his name. I refer to him as S. S is not for snitch. S is the first initial of the nickname that he went by in prison. So even though this dude showed what's known as the ultimate betrayal in the gang world, I don't come online and disparage this dude and try to tear an individual down, right? Now you have individuals, right, who love, it seems like, to hop on YouTube from time to time and go back and forth with other black YouTubers and tear them down, disparage them, anytime. Listen, man, like I started my video in saying, by us being black people and black men, we have the right to think differently. We have the right to view things how we view things, right? Anytime, in my opinion, a grown person is going to get mad and highly upset that another person doesn't view the things that they want you to view the way they want you to view things the way they see things, and they get upset about that. In my opinion, those are things that women do. I was taught that men come to the round table. They discuss things. They may debate things, not argue. Don't confuse the two. Don't confuse a debate with an argument, because they are vastly different, right? Men sit at the round table and they have a discussion. They have a meeting of the minds, right? In the event you have to rebuke, disparage an individual, a black man, another black man, I was taught, and I believe that you don't do it in front of other people, right? There's always a way to get that done. Everybody doing YouTube, we pretty much either know some of each other's homies, can reach out to each other's homies, can reach out to people who know people, or can just hit the email. We have ways of getting a hold of each other and having a conversation. If that's what a person chooses to do, right? Like I said, man, I've been on YouTube maybe somewhere around 5 years. I have never went back and forth with a black man on YouTube, right? That's just not what I choose to do. Some individuals choose to do that, right? And so now people are popping up in my comments saying, hey man, did you see what he said? Did you see what he said? And so on and so forth, right? And so for the individuals who have something negative to say, I mean, if you are so impressed with another man, ask him to marry you. That's all I can say, man. If you are so impressed with what another man said, ask him to marry you. He might marry you, who knows? Like I said, at the end of the day, it's not my choice. I don't choose to come on here and go back and forth and argue and try to tear down any black man for everybody else to look at, everybody else to see and view. Because in my opinion, there's a whole lot of that going on, right? Like I said, man, I don't have a problem with discussing something with an individual. People hit me up all the time and, want to discuss things behind the scenes and so on and so forth, and that's how at times a meeting of the minds and a change in thinking occurs when you sit down and you discuss and you talk with individuals, right? Because nobody's above rebuke. Nobody's above developing a new way of thinking when you present certain things to that individual that he may have not thought about, or he may have not seen, or he may have not perceived it the way that you perceived it, right? And so that's the whole point, man, of sitting down at the round table, having a discussion, and a brother makes his point. And at times you will have the changing of minds if a person presents his points logically and in a way that it can be receptive. Anytime a dude is upset because you disagree with him and he begins shouting and screaming and hollering and being disrespectful, that's a dude of small intelligence, regardless of how many large words he may have in his vocabulary, right? And so to me, it's just a trip that, with all this stuff that's going on, out there in the streets and so on and so forth, people still choose to come to YouTube and get into it with the same very people they claim to be trying to uplift. And so once again, like I said, man, my whole purpose when I came to YouTube was to entertain, talk about things that I went through and my experiences, right? If a person happens to gather some wisdom from what I'm saying, that's great. You know what I'm saying? In my day and age at this point in time, I don't believe or think like I used to think when I was younger in terms of black on black violence. I remember many times, man, being in prison, possibly being in the phone sign up line or maybe in the store line or wherever, right? And looking up and noticing a white dude with some lightning bolts on him or some type of, Hitler tattooed on him, or something like that, man. And I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all, man. Some of those times I felt real stupid and dumb for being in prison for doing something to another black man. I have never seen while I was in prison. I've never seen this, but I've heard you got white dudes walking around with tattoos of a baby in a noose. They got a noose hanging from a tree with a black baby on it, tattoos on them, stuff like that. So, if I was to see something like that, I would be infuriated. And of course, it would make me feel hella foolish once again for being in prison for doing something to a black man. When I went to prison, I like to call it back in those days, it was traditional gangbanging. Crips and Bloods were very divided. It's not like today where you can sit up and Crips and Bloods in the same room and they cousin and blooding each other and they don't have a problem with it. Back in those days, Bloods didn't want to hear nobody say cuz, and the Crips didn't want to hear nobody say blood. So it was very divided, right? And as I'm doing time and starting to eventually, mature and intermingle with a lot of these different bloods and so on and so forth, man, I realized that really we all one and the same. We just happen to grow up in different parts of the city or different parts of the state, and we got caught up in a genocidal tribalism mindset, right? And so, it's unfortunate, right? With all the, with all the black all the black violence, the black on black violence on the street, we still want to bring it to YouTube, right? So to me, it's just like a sickness that some of us have, man, where we like getting into it with our own people, but then we'll be the ones, quick to want to talk about some unification and all this old type of stuff. But if you don't have understanding and empathy for your own people, to me, it's a cold situation, So, like I said, once again, man, for the individuals, man, that's concerned, with what other people say, try to see if you can have a relationship with them. As far as me, I'm not concerned with all that, So it is what it is, man. I'm not just to sit back up here on YouTube and go back and forth, back and forth with no black dude. If I got something to say to a black person, man, I'm going to try to get a hold of him and speak my piece. I see a whole lot of stuff going on YouTube, either being done, things being said by black individuals that I disagree with. But I realize, as a man, a dude has a right to do and think as he wants to think. You know what I'm saying? Why am I going to get upset or angry because a dude does not view life the way I view life? To me, that's just some female type stuff, in my opinion, right? And if I have a big enough problem with an individual, I'll reach out to that individual, and try to sit down and discuss things with him. But anyway, that's basically all I had to say right there, man, on that situation. For the dudes out there, man, who, want to talk crazy and all that type of stuff, if you happen to think that I'm charming and you see me out there, try and squeeze me. Anyway, man, y'all enjoy the rest of your day.